around to the left instead of to the right. And sometimes just having a positive attitude, or just saying, right, this is going away now, I'm getting better and I choose to get better now. Just saying that sometimes is enough for people, because it's giving that boost in their attitude, giving their bodies that wee bit more energy.
So what's an easy way for people to get into this state? You know, obviously people do meditate, don't they? You know, what could you give? What sort of advice could you give on that?
To get into the kind of quantum field.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really quite simple. All you're actually doing is imagining yourself going inside a part of your body and shrinking smaller and smaller and smaller until you're seeing the night sky, and you can actually go directly to that point, or you can imagine you're going inside cells, then DNA, then atoms. But sometimes the more you do that kind of thing, you can just imagine closing your eyes, imagine the part of your body, and then imagining you become so small that you're immediately looking up at the night sky, and actually looking up at the tiny particles inside the atoms that are inside the body, and that's you literally immediately at this place, which we call the quantum field, and you can get then a sense of massiveness, of vastness, of expansiveness, and that's the real shift that you make. The steps I often tell people to do: go down, imagine you're getting smaller through the cells, imagining the DNA, imagining the atoms. That's just a process to help people to gradually get to that point. But really, if people can just jump straight to the night sky in their minds, then that's absolutely perfect, and it's quick as well. I mean, I do that myself.
Yeah. I mean, meditation is the key, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's studies that show that a lot of meditators can affect the crime rate. Apparently, there was a Mashahari effect where I think it was 7,000 meditators allegedly brought the crime rate down in a certain area.
Yeah.
But have you heard about that study?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Do you know what? It was amazing because it was at the Maharishi University of Management, and it was in Washington, D.C. And what they did, they had arranged for 7,000 expert meditators to meet in a convention centre in Washington. And they were going to meditate on peace, on the state of peace, the feeling of peace, and what peace is in the world. And they were to do that for, 10 or 20 minutes. I forget the exact duration. But what they wanted to do was because it was the Maharishi University of Management, they wanted to do a scientific study by looking at crime rates. So they enlisted the help of the FBI. And now the FBI at first thought, oh, this will be a lot of crap. Who are these mad people? So they kind of, treated it a bit of a joke at first. But when the results came in, it turned out that the crime rate of Washington had dropped by 25%, which is exactly what the Maharishis had predicted would happen. So the FBI even co-authored a scientific paper with the Maharishi University of Management because they were so impressed by what had happened, and it was jointly presented at the American Political Science Association, AGM, back in 1987, I think, or it was 1986. So that's the FBI made this a big thing by saying, look, we don't know how it works, we don't understand how it works, but somehow these 7,000 people meditating on peace lowered the crime rate of the city by 25%.
It's amazing, isn't it? So
Yeah.
basically, if someone was out there and there was an angry person, they were less likely to kill somebody.
Yeah, it's almost like, do you know if you drop a stone in a pond and you start to watch the waves ripple outwards, and maybe 20 metres away there's a lily pad, and all of a sudden the lily pad just rises and falls as the wave meets it. Now the lily pad has no idea why it just rose or fell there, but what happened is it was hit by a wave, and maybe, and this is my belief, that maybe that we're all interconnected at a very, very deep level, and maybe there's waves of intelligence, of consciousness emanating from us all the time, and maybe 7,000 people generated a very, very large wave that literally went out symmetrically from that convention centre in Washington. And just like a lily pad feels a wave of a water, then maybe many, many thousands or millions of people in the city were gently stroked by a wave, so to speak, a wave in their own mind and their consciousness, that for some people might just meant a change in the decision they made. In the same way that a bit of wind can blow in your face and cause you to suddenly turn left instead of turning right. And I think something like that was going on.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the work of Cleve Baxter?
Is that the plants guy?
He's the plants guy, but he did another experiment where he put someone's cells into a petri dish, and he wired them up to the the
The
lie
lie
detector thing.
detector, yeah.
Yeah, and then sent the guy across, hundreds of miles. I think it was hundreds of miles, but he was out and about anyway, miles away. And they asked him to make a note every time he was stressed, happy, or whatever.
Right.
And his cells in the lab reacted instantly to his
See,
emotions.
that's incredible, eh? That's amazing. I mean, I've heard a few stories like that, but I hadn't heard that one in particular. But that is amazing. I mean, I absolutely, passionately believe that at a very deep level, everything is interconnected. I mean, absolutely everything is interconnected. And literally the whole universe is dancing to the tune of your thoughts, and the tune of your ideas. And when you even imagine something that you really want to happen in your life, you're literally sending a wave that carries that image with it, that carries your intelligence, your stamp with it, that carries your hopes and dreams with it. And that wave is touching people all around the world and touching things all around the world. And sometimes people who can help you suddenly find themselves, for no apparent reason, just drifting into your life. And you end up getting the things that you want because you've actually pulled people into you because they've been touched by your wave. And I actually look at the world like this.
Yeah.
This is how I understand things.
See, basically, what you're doing when you're out giving lectures and you're telling people how it's all connected and everything,
Yeah.
right? And the way I think I see it is that the more people that believe this stuff and realise that it's possible,
Yeah.
can you imagine what that's going to do to humanity?
I know that there could be people talk about a tipping point, but what would happen is so many people would suddenly understand that their mind matters, that what they think about matters. I mean, there seems to be a growing swell of people who now understand, that their thinking does actually affect their health. Their thinking does actually affect the circumstances of your life, and that's really emerged a lot in the last 10 years, but even the last 2 or 3 years, it's happened more and more. But what eventually comes out of this as well is people's natural tendency then to express who they really are. And I think we're all spiritually, but also genetically wired to be kind and caring people. And I think what spontaneously arises out of us when we do like spiritual practices, which are associated with this, is we become more gentle, we become kinder towards each other, we care for each other more. And that is my prediction, that the side effect of this change of understanding that we're all connected and our thoughts matter in the world, the side effect will be the world becoming a much more gentle and kind and compassionate place, because that's naturally who we are. And we're just literally expressing ourselves.
Exactly. So if you imagine the 7,000 meditators, imagine if everybody was just doing that naturally.
Yeah.
There'd just be that, I suppose, that field of consciousness just be like a glorious day without any storm clouds, nothing to unsettle us.
I love it. So that's a really great picture to send. There's probably lots of people listening to this who are thinking of that picture, but that's a really great image to hold. That an image of peace and compassion and kindness, and wee clouds of compassion, the wee white wispy clouds of kindness and gentleness just floating around.
I mean, there's a lot of talk in this kind of New Age movement about ascension, awakening 2012,
Yeah.
but when you look at a pragmatic level, like at this level, you can see it. And I think in a way we could all be there right now, today, if everyone changed the way they think.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just recognising that that your mind does actually matter, but then not only acknowledging that, but then expressing who you really are, and deep within ourselves we are kind by nature, we are compassionate by nature, we care for each other by nature, and the more people who understand that and who start living like that, then we really could be living it right now.
So is there any kind of affirmations that help people to make you happy, because sometimes we forget. It's easy to sort of get into a bad mood, forget this stuff, and then before you know it, you're back to where you started. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I use affirmations a lot. I mean, an affirmation really is just a verbal statement of what you intend to happen or how you intend to feel. So, like, if a person decides that they want to feel happier, then every day in every way, I'm feeling happier and happier. Or if you want your life to improve, my life is improving all the time. And it's something that you say whenever the thought pops into your head, and you'll find that thought will pop into your head anything between half a dozen times and 50 times in a day. But what you do is you just say your affirmation, but very